Chance. Second Chance is a weekly talk show that examines a wide range of social issues and seeks to inspire physical, emotional, social, and spiritual healing, believing that God is a God of second chances. And through faith, all things are possible. Second Chance airs live each week from the beautiful campus of Oakwood University and features real people with real issues and offers real answers. And now, here's your host, Kenneth Anderson.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Second Chance radio broadcast. I'm Kenny Anderson and as always delighted to be here with you for the broadcast on Sunday afternoon from 2 to 4 p.m. Central Standard Time, wherever you may be joining us this afternoon. Perhaps you're listening at WJOU 90.1 FM, which is our local radio station. Maybe you're tuning on the internet, meaning that you could be listening anywhere in the world right now at WJOU.org, or perhaps you're tuning in on the live feed, which is what we call our bonus cut, by going to Facebook and the Praise 90.1 FM page or the YouTube Praise 90.1 FM page. We're grateful that you've chosen to be with us on this Sunday afternoon. And I hope that everybody is having a good day today. We, of course, are dedicating every single broadcast this year to the memory of my late mother-in-law, Mother Ernestine Fletcher Tibbs, who passed on December 11th. And, of course, my wife and I are still transitioning on that journey. And we appreciate all the thoughts and the prayers that people have provided for us as we continue to reflect on a life well lived. And, of course, as we have over the last couple of weeks been expressing our thoughts and our prayers for a member of the WJOU family, as well as a member of the Adventist community, as well as a member of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, Elder T. Marshall Kelly passed this past week. And my heart is heavy because of his passing. Over the last two shows, we have spent some time, me and my guests, talking about his life and his legacy and the impact that he had on our life. And so I was saddened to learn on this past Monday that Elder Kelly has fallen asleep, waiting for that trumpet call. The first resurrection is where I expect to see Elder Kelly. There's no question about that. And of course, death is asleep for those of us who know, those of us who believe, those of us who understand the transitional nature of this very, very difficult part of life, that Elder Kelly's life, which was so beautiful and so well lived, had such a profound impact on so many people's lives, that we mourn the loss of our brother. But we absolutely look forward to seeing him again. To my brother Eric Kelly, to my sister Nadine Kelly, to my brother Dane Timpson, to the whole Kelly family, friends and loved ones who cared so much about him and who've been touched along the way, we extend our deepest condolences and our most sincere thoughts and reflections as you go through this period of transition. We love you, and we are here for you in any way that we can be here for you. That Dreaded Life. The first topic that we're going to have today is going to introduce you to a very important and significant initiative that is happening right here at one of my alma maters, the Oakwood University. That is the Oakwood University. And Oakwood University's Departments of History and Political Science and English and Foreign Languages will be presenting a historical interpretation and theatrical presentation on the life of Dred Scott entitled That Dreded Life on Saturday, February 25th and Tuesday, February 28th, right here at the great Oakwood University. Joining me this afternoon are some individuals who are going to share some insight with me on this very significant event. First of all, Dr. Denise Shavers is joining us this afternoon for information about this particular event. Dr. Shavers is the product of Seventh-day Adventist Christian education. Some of her professional experience includes serving as a history professor and program coordinator, director of institutional effectiveness, instructional design, secondary social studies teacher, preschool director at various denominations and public institutions, and I believe the primary investigator on this project. Dr. Shavers, welcome to the Second Chance radio broadcast on this afternoon.
Thank you so much, Mr. Anderson, for having us here. We are so pleased to be here with you.
Oh, I'm excited to have you, and I want to learn all about this thing so that everybody listening this afternoon can get excited as well and put this on their calendar. We want no one to pencil this in. We want everybody to write this down with a Sharpie because they're absolutely going to make sure that they come out and participate. Paul Nixon is assistant professor. I hope that is assistant, not associate.
Yeah, assistant.
Okay. Assistant professor, Department of English and Foreign Languages at the great Oakwood University. Paul, thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
You bear resemblance to this guy I know named John Nixon.
You might have heard of him before, yeah.
I'm going to tell you a backstory about your dad, by the way. Can I give you a little backstory?
Absolutely.
So I was born and raised in New York City. My home church was Bethel Church. So we grew up together as young kids. He was, of course, a couple of years older than me. He and another good friend of mine named Keith Artis were the inspiration for my coming to Oakwood. Those guys went off to Oakwood. They came back. They talked so much about the positive experience they had. And I said, boy, I got to get some of what John and Keith is getting. And so I came on down to Oakwood after they did.
That's great.
Awesome stuff. Glad to have you here this afternoon.
Thanks for having me.
Cheney McKnight is here with us this afternoon. Cheney is a historical interpreter of Afrofuturist, Not Your Mama's History. And perhaps, I'm looking at my screen here, I'm not seeing Cheney, by the way. So let's bring in Dr. Kayla Ward, who is with us this afternoon. Maybe Cheney is on her way. Hi, how you doing? Good to see you this afternoon. Kayla Ward is currently teaching in the Department of English and Foreign Languages at Oakwood University and in distance learning programs for several universities around the country. She also serves as a board member for Sanford University Black Alumni Association, a board member for Fountain of Life Community Development Corporation, and a program reviewer for the National Council of Teachers of English. Welcome to the broadcast, Dr. Ward.
Hi.
Good to have you here this afternoon. I have no backstories on you, but I will after these 30 minutes.
All right.
Listen, y'all, it's great to have you here. Shout out to my man, Tony Perkins, for making this possible because he is the coordinator in chief and actually brought all of us to this space at this time. I'm excited to learn more about what's happening here. I'm going to start with Dr. Shavers, I guess, because this would have been birthed in your area. So talk to me a little bit about this dreaded life or that dreaded life and tell me how this came to be.
Okay, well, it is a long time coming. When I was a senior at Oakwood, I was a history major. And I didn't realize that Oakwood had been a previous slave plantation. And as a history major, you know, everything historical is important. And I thought that was such an important story. And I know nobody knew it. And I thought, that's crazy. And that stayed with me for so many years. I won't tell you how many years, but let's just say a few. Then when I came back, as we all do from time to time at Alumni Weekend, several years later, I saw the marker that this was a place where Dred Scott lived. And again, as someone in history, I knew the significance of that. And I thought that was so important. Why? Why doesn't anybody know this? Why isn't this well known? And so in 2020, two different people sent me a grant opportunity and asked me to apply for an NEH grant, the National Endowment for Humanities, The first time they sent it, I thought, no, I'm not interested. But the second time, they had one specifically for historically Black colleges and universities. And I know that the Lord just brought this whole idea back to me. And so I solicited the expertise of my colleagues, Paul Nixon and Dr. Kayla Ward, and asked them to help me write this grant that the Lord impressed me to tell the story about the fact that such an important previously enslaved person had matriculated through what was then the Low Plantation and now Oakwood University. And so we sat together, we wrote it, and we got a significant grant to tell the story and to produce some works and to collaborate with the community. So this is not just an Oakwood story, this is a Huntsville story.
Yeah, wow, I love that. And I love the fact that the juxtaposition of history manifests itself in this moment. As we think about Dred Scott, and somebody who I read about over the years, knew about historically from the Supreme Court Dred Scott decision and the significance of that particular experience and the profound impact it had on my ancestors, to learn that the school that I chose to come to had an association with Dred Scott has always just blown my mind. Paul, it has also had to have blown your mind as well, because when you realize that there really are only 2 or 3 degrees of separation in our lives, this is a fascinating backstory as it relates to not just the Oakwood University experience, but our own personal lives.
Yeah, it really is. It really is fascinating. And, you know, it's really interesting to see as we're putting this project together, how many people don't know this history, right? So we're dealing, as Dr. Shavers said a minute ago, and I'm sure Dr. Ward will talk about in a few minutes as well, we are involving the community as well in the project, right? So it's not just an Oakwood project. But one of the things I'm telling people is that Dred Scott doesn't belong to Oakwood, right? Dred Scott he's a national figure, right? So this is a North Alabama story. This is a Huntsville story. So we're very deliberately involving these other parts of the community into telling of the story, and people are really, really interested in participating when we talk to them, just because it is so important. And like you said, it's so close to home, right? They're like when people find out, first of all, like Dr. Shavers said a minute ago, that Oakwood used to be a slave plantation. They're like, whoa, I'm so close to it, you know? And then we find out that this is such an important figure in our national history was right here on these very grounds. Like, wow, we're so close to it. And it's really invigorating, you know, to realize we're so close to history. We can really put our hands on it. So it's really cool.
Absolutely. And Dr. Ward, you know, I don't think that anything about this has been missed in preparing for this, that the theme for Black History Month 2023 is Black resistance. And of course, Dred Scott was a Black resistor, one of the originals. He fought for his freedom. He demanded his freedom, as so many more people have done over the years, even through today, as we talk about Black resistance and the BLM movement, the need for police reform, the inequities that exist in health, education, housing, employment, and so much more. The timing of this has to be great and align with this month in such a special way. Can you talk a little bit about what you would hope the significance of this happening during Black History Month would mean to those who come and partake in the experience?
Oh, absolutely. One of the things the team can agree on is that we really wanted it to be inclusive. And so we were very purposeful in including all ages, young and older. And so I think with that dynamic, we're able to touch everyone who understands. Some of us are closer to this history because of our ages, and it may not be Dred's story, but there's still stories. You understand what I'm saying? There's still stories of oppression. There's still stories of fights for freedoms, because there's so many freedoms to fight for, you know? So it's like every generation seems to have a freedom to fight for. And so I think the combination of the ages, the types of activities that we're doing, the types of things that we've already done that the community will see, would just help inspire all of us, you know, to just understand and appreciate bondage of any kind. Right. It's just unnecessary, and it should not be. And so we're hoping that beyond just a Black history, it becomes our history, because a lot of the participants in our program are not just Black people. And so we made sure of that. We want to make sure that we included all people. And so what has been the most fascinating for me are the young minds that are working with us, because a lot of them were Caucasian students who had to get an understanding of Dred's struggle and produce something based on their understanding of his struggle. So it's just beautiful. I invite the community to come see the beauty of it. It's beautiful.
Yeah, Paul, I want to continue in that line of thinking about why inclusiveness is so important. I am the director of the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion for the city of Huntsville. And so I'm invested in this conversation in a very passionate, consistent, dedicated way on a daily basis. But to Dr. Ward's point, she just said something that I thought was really powerful, and I want you to maybe expand on that a little bit more. This notion of cultural alliances, the fact that history exists. And I always like to say and celebrate Black history as American history. I always tell people, look, Black history is American history. So let's not see ourselves apart just because we get those 28 days every year to kind of celebrate, which is wonderful. The story of being Black in America is a story that needs to be told 365 days, 24/7. And it needs the support of cultural allies, people who can see the history and understand the history and understand the intersectionality of those things as it relates to our lives. So talk a little bit more about that notion of inclusion and why that's such an important theme to what you all are presenting.
So for this particular presentation, we're doing a play, and I'm sure you'll talk about this a little bit later, but the play includes characters who are not African American very deliberately. So the story we're telling is the story of Dred Scott, and it starts off with him in Huntsville, and it ends up in the Supreme Court. So you have a lot of people in this historical narrative that are other colors, right? So for us, we very deliberately wanted to show that on stage to exactly what you're talking about, this idea of cultural alliances, right? So there were families, there were people, Caucasian people and African Americans, of course, who were very much on Dred's side as it relates to going through this historical fighting in the court. Somebody had to pay for all that, for example. So he had benefactors who were white, and he had friends and family, and so we show some of that on stage very deliberately. So in order to do that, we really didn't want to whiteface, so to speak, right? Where we just take African American students or African American people, which were surrounded by this HBCU, right, and make them look like white people. We wanted to take actual people from the community who were Caucasian people, involve them in the story, because like you said, it is our story. This is not a story of some Black dude 150 years ago. This is a story of a city. This is a story of a town. This is a story of a country going through growing pains, going through changes. And that's everybody's story. So we really wanted everybody to be able to relate to it in that way. So it was very, very deliberate on our part.
We're talking this afternoon with a team of individuals who are responsible, among others, for a amazing historical interpretation and theatrical presentation on the life of Dred Scott. It's called That Dreded Life. It's coming up right here in this community on February 25th and the 28th. And we want to make sure that you know more about how to be a part of this in just a little bit. But Dr. Shavers, I want to bounce back to you for just a moment and ask you a question about this particular experience, because clearly you want people to come and be a part of this, and there is an educational component in this. There is a inspirational component of this. There may be some other, dimensions of experience that you want people to take away from this. In terms of takeaways, when people have this experience, what are some of the things that you would possibly like to see people take away from having been a part of this experience?
So thank you so much. A very important question. Ms. Cheney McKnight, who is an Afrocentrist, she is not able to meet with us today because she's en route on another program, but she is in charge of the historical interpretation. So this is a multifaceted experience. What we wanted was for you to have a complete experience. And part of that is in conjunction with local historians, Mr. William Hampton. He's been, as many people know, collecting artifacts from Huntsville. And so he's going to have some of his artifacts, and Ms. McKnight is also bringing some more African artifacts from that time period. And so historical interpreters are going to provide a context of life in Huntsville, the life of the enslaved individuals, these real stories, in addition to the culmination with the play. And so it's a total experience. So what we want people to walk away with is that when we talk about African American history, and that's my passion and that's my love, and I've taught it for years, slavery is just a thing, right? And those are just slaves. But the enslaved people were people, and they had real lives and real stories. And you're going to experience their real experience to some extent through the life and the lens of Dred Scott. And I want people to walk away with a broader understanding of the slave life. That wasn't just a group of people who were oblivious to their plight. They were real people, and they expressed it in real ways as much as they were able to within the confines of slavery.
Paul, are any of you involved in the theatrical presentation?
I'm directing the play. I will not be on stage, but I'm directing the play. I taught the class that wrote the play. So students wrote the play in a playwriting class that I teach in the fall. So I taught that class as well. And then I'm directing the play this semester. And then I have 2 classes this semester involved in the production as well. I teach a play directing class, and then I teach an intro to theater class. Both of those classes, the students in both those classes, their work is essentially helping to make the play happen, right? So we have these students at work in kind of like associate producer roles in the play. So it's mostly students. We have, like I said, people from the community. My involvement is I'm like the puppet master behind the scenes guiding. So, yeah. Well,
let me ask you about this. As director of this presentation, what's your approach to directing?
My approach is collaborative. So the thing that I love about the theater is the collaborative spirit. It's my favorite thing about it. I love the idea, and Dr. Ward alluded to this a little while ago. I love the idea of multiple minds coming together to produce one thing together. It's like a team, the Yankees, for example. They're a great team because everybody plays their part well. You put them all together, they win 27 championships, right? So I want to be on the Yankees of the theater, right? I don't want to be the guy. I want to be part of the team. So that's kind of how I direct as well. I want to hear everyone's opinion. I want everybody's insight. I want you to make decisions for yourself. I'm not going to tell you what your character's motivation is. You need to tell me what your character's motivation is. I'll help frame the story for you, but you have to put your imprint on the story as a member of this team. And when you do that, you'll find that everybody involved works a little bit harder, and then they work a little bit better because they take ownership of what they're trying to do. And we end up with just such a beautiful product that we could not have come up with if any one person had just sat down and told everybody what to do. So yeah, I'm a very collaborative director.
Paul, I don't know what your future is, but I definitely know one thing. You will never be turned down for an appearance on this broadcast after that Yankees reference. Never, ever. Never, ever. We don't know each other too well, even though we are in the family, but I'm the biggest Yankees fan around, and that was a beautiful analogy. Say it again, Paul.
I might have to challenge you on that biggest Yankees fan around. You should see my hats. I got 27 hats around my room to represent all the championships. We get a new one, I'm getting a new hat.
All right, I'm going to holler at you. We're going to compare notes about who's got the best gear.
Let's do it.
All right, we can do it. You're going to lose, but it's all right. We're brothers with the Yankees.
I don't mind losing that one.
All right. So let me ask Dr. Ward, watching the time here, I'm having so much fun with you all. Definitely would love to have you come back, maybe do a post show and talk about and reflect, maybe bring an actor or two with you. That would be a lot of fun, wouldn't it?
Love it.
So let me ask you, Dr. Ward, people are going to come out now. They're excited. They want to know when this is happening, where it's happening, how they can get connected to this beautiful experience that's about to go down. Can you give us some information, some details about that?
Yes, so we have a busy week. What we've done to make it so everyone can enjoy the time and still stay in the moment, we try to make everything in the same week. Because, sometimes when you walk away from things, you just can't recapture that first passion. And so February the 20th, and my team can correct me, February 21st, we have the Oakwood students coming from Oakwood Academy because we want to, start at home first. And so we've invited them to be our special guest February 21st. Then on February the 23rd, we have young minds coming from Huntsville City, Madison County, and Madison City. So we've invited our sister schools to come and celebrate with us and, see the experience. And then on February the 25th, which is a Saturday night, it's open to the community. It starts at 7:00. And we're inviting everyone to come. And if you cannot make it that Saturday night, then February the 28th, there's another community night. That's a Tuesday. And it starts at 7:00. And then we will end with another group of young minds coming from those same sister schools, because we had so much participation from our sister schools till we needed to give them 2 days so that we could really allow them to appreciate without it being so crowded. We want to make sure we're safe. We're still doing everything safely. So those are our days. And then we will come back in April for our alumni weekend. And all the alum and everyone, family members from the alum can come and see the production. So we have quite a few times that you can come and enjoy yourselves.
Wow. And then, of course, by alumni weekend, you will have the process perfected. And it'll be just like a Broadway production by that time. I mean,
I'd like to have it. I'd like to have it perfected by the 21st. If I'm being honest with you.
All right. Absolutely. Listen, I love the energy of the community stuff because I'm a big community guy anyway, and I think it's so important that we share our gifts that have been given to us by God collectively with so many different individuals, and in the spirit of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and the spirit of what I think Black History Month represents. This is a gift to our community and an opportunity for people to really be engaged in a very meaningful and significant part of American history that happens to be reflected through Black history. And I'm so happy for that. I'm going to give each of you just a closing comment as we get closer to the end of our broadcast. Dr. Shaver, just a closing thought.
Okay, I want to just remind everyone that this is a family event. I know when we talk about slavery, everybody thinks 12 years a slave and they think they're going to come back and be traumatized, right? No, this is designed for families. Our youngest group might be fourth graders, right? And we're going to have things for those. It will have an educational component. And we go up to the seniors, and Dr. Ward did not discuss the beautiful work that they created from the children to the seniors is just beautiful. So I want everybody, don't feel that you're going to be upset or scared. That's not what this is. It's just a beautiful story.
All right, Paul.
Really important. Actually, you stole the words out of my mouth, because the students, like I said, the students wrote this play. They did not want to show typical slavery on stage, right? They didn't want people working in the fields and getting whipped. So that's not what we're going to see. This is a story of triumph. It's a story of freedom. It's a story of progress. And the students did an amazing job. I couldn't be more proud of these kids that wrote this play, and these students that are acting in it as well, doing a fantastic job. So come check them out. Some of these people want to be pros, so come check them out and give them your feedback and encourage them that they're doing an amazing job. You won't have to lie, because they actually are doing an amazing job. So yeah, come check us out, and we'd love to see you.
That's awesome. Dr. Ward.
I just want to start by saying thank you to all of the participants. Hopefully they will be watching when this is broadcasted. And we want to say thank you to them. Our joint passions, it was just such a passionate project, from the planning stages to now we're getting to the implementing of it. And it's just been a great journey. Again, I want to invite everyone to come, because we've really poured ourselves into this. We really have. And I believe it's an excellent product. And so I'm just so excited to share. So you all come share with us. We invite you to come share with us.
And it's important. It is free. All of the events are free.
Oh, you just said the magic word. Because anytime there's something free, I tell people, listen, there are no barriers. The only thing that you have to do is make the time to invest in something that's going to be productive and positive. It won't cost you anything except a little bit of your time, which I know is valuable, but this is something that's going to be amazing. Yeah. Listen, I want to thank Dr. Shaver, Paul Nixon, Dr. Ward for being here today and sharing this information. And I'm serious. I'm going to talk with Tony about doing a follow-up on this after you've done it, sometime between the last show and alumni weekend, we'll bring you guys back together. So I want to have a chance to reflect on the experience in the moment, because this really does sound like an amazing venture. Congratulations on this project, and I look forward to seeing the results.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having us.
All right. Have a good rest of the day.
Thank you.
All right. Fantastic. My guest this afternoon, kicking off the broadcast. Wow, what a way to start a show, folks, on a Sunday afternoon on the Second Chance radio broadcast. My guest this afternoon talking about That Dreded Life, a historical interpretation and theatrical presentation on the life of Dred Scott, an enslaved social activist. It is Black History Month, and Dr. Denise Shavers, Paul Nixon, and Dr. Kayla Ward spending some time with us this afternoon, helping us understand why this project is happening and how you can be a part of it. So delighted, so excited to have had them. We got a lot more for you today, folks, and we're going to bring it to you in just a few moments. I'm Kenny Anderson. It's Second Chance. I hope that you're having an amazing day.
You know that the ice cream scoop has the power to make a child smile, and that by slowing us down, the traffic light can keep us going. You know that the golf tee brings friends together, that the mailbox keeps them connected. You know that the cataract laser helps you look to the future, while the pacemaker ensures that there's a future to be seen. You know that the lawnmower, the clothes dryer, and the elevator make life easier, that the blood bank makes life possible. You know that these things we count on every day started as ideas. But did you know all these ideas came from the minds of African Americans? Support minority education today so we don't miss out on the next big idea tomorrow. The United Negro College Fund, a mind is a terrible thing to waste. Please visit uncf.org or call 1-800-332-UNCF. Brought to you by UNCF and the Ad Council.
Just as I am without one plea, but that thy blood was shed for me, and that thou bidst me come to thee. O Lamb of God, I come. O Lamb of God, I
Transforming lives.
Transforming lives.
You're listening to Second Chance with Kenneth Anderson.
Welcome back to the broadcast. I hope that you enjoyed my conversation this afternoon with Dr. Denise Shavers, Paul Nixon, and Dr. Kayla Ward, sharing some great information about some important things that you need to be a part of during this special month. I've got another great conversation coming up right now, and I'm going to introduce my guests at this time. Jason Guyton is with me this afternoon, and we'll tell you a little bit more about why Jason is on the air. But Jason is a member experience advocate universal with Avadian Credit Union. He's a proud sponsor of the event that we're about to talk about in a few moments. He's a proud two-time Howard University Athletics Hall of Famer, former NCAA Division I and Missouri High School championship wrestler, and the list goes on and on. I'm going to tell you right now, folks, you see only the top part of Jason, but he'll take you down right now. There's no question. He's a few years removed from the field, but he'll take you down even now. Jason, how are you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing pretty good, Kenny. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. Also joining us this afternoon is Chad Emerson. Chad is the former executive director of Downtown Huntsville, Inc., but he's gone on to, I'm going to say this, greener pastures now in one form or another, because when you see those beautiful turf and that field, he's in a completely different zone right now. You see the shirt that he's wearing, Huntsville City FC. Chad is now managing director of business operations for Huntsville City, and the FC stands for Football Club. If you haven't heard about it lately, big things are happening in Huntsville these days, and both Chad and Jason are here to tell us a lot more about it. We're actually going to be talking about a special event, folks, that we hope that you will definitely want to take part in. It's the Huntsville High School JV Super Cup. And, of course, we're going to learn all about why that's important and about some of the other things that are happening in our city today. Jason, first of all, I mentioned that you're with Avadian Credit Union, and your organization is actually helping to sponsor this event. Tell me a little bit about why this specific event was attractive to you in terms of sponsoring.
Well, Kenny, we're in the North region, which encompasses our South Parkway branch as well as our Madison branch. And one of the things that we had discussed a year ago was being more active in the community. So when I spoke to Chad about the possibilities of being a part of this, he let me know about the tremendous opportunity, not just with the Huntsville City Football Club, not just with the Huntsville High School organization, but with Huntsville in general in the Tennessee Valley. There's a lot of things that are going on, and Chad is a leader in making sure that we're aware of a lot of those opportunities. So I was able to take the information that Chad gave me to our team, and our team was gracious and was just so happy that we were given the opportunity. So we're glad to be part of a sponsor this year for this organization and also for this tournament. We're excited about it. This is a big, big deal, and we hope to see a lot of people.
Yeah, Chad, of course, I better make this clear for people right now, but the football club, there's really only one football, and people that appreciate football know that and understand that to be soccer. The other game that we play here in America oftentimes, that's a different kind of game. But FC Football Club represents professional soccer in Huntsville. And, of course, this has been a big, exciting thing that's happening. Tell me a little bit about the Huntsville City FC, first of all, and then we'll talk a little bit about this big event that's coming up.
Yeah, thanks, Kenny. It's good to see you. I used to see you every Thursday morning, so it's nice to see you. Haven't seen you in a while, my friend.
It has.
So the thing about soccer or football, whatever you'd like to call it, but it's really one of the games that bring people together across the world. We saw that in Qatar. The people from every corner of Earth really come together to play the beautiful game together. And so we're excited that we'll now have a professional team of the beautiful game of soccer right here at the former Joe Davis Stadium. We are part of the Major League Soccer ecosystem. We're right underneath and wholly owned by the Nashville Soccer Club. So if you've been up there to their beautiful new stadium, And so what's really exciting about this is it really completes the pathway from youth academy players to MLS Next Pro players to Major League Soccer players, and then maybe beyond into Europe and other places.
Jason, we talk about soccer parents all the time. Chad, we talk about soccer parents all the time. And we see kids excited about playing soccer. We see cities and municipalities investing in soccer fields and making sure that we have enough facilities in terms of parks and recreation for kids to be involved in these initiatives. What do you account for the appeal of soccer being so popular among youth, children, and families today? I'm starting with Jason.
Well, I guess one of the biggest reasons is that it's a sport that anyone can play. Whether you have a high IQ for the sport or not, it's a sport where families, friends, schools, communities are able to just sit back right there on the greens of the soccer field and just really have a great experience with those players. We have a tremendous youth soccer experience here in the Tennessee Valley, both in Huntsville and Madison. So just to be a part of it and to see so many kids have so many opportunities at this point, it just brings the appeal to a lot of families across many different pathways.
Chad, what are your thoughts about that? Because now you're in the thick of the professional end of it, but you've been engaged in that kind of experience where we see a lot of excitement. We hear the demand for more soccer fields and facilities. What's the appeal?
Yeah, as a soccer parent myself, I've spent many of those days watching a bunch of different kiddos play. And I think one of the things that really makes soccer so popular is it's so approachable. In terms of there's very minimal gear that you have to purchase. You can buy your boots, shin guards, and so it doesn't have a real expensive set of gears that is not always approachable to everyone. And then you could play it on just about any surface. You see it played on dirt surfaces, grass surfaces, in high school gyms, in small gyms with futsal. And so it's so approachable. It brings as many people together as possible without a lot of the barriers that, certain very unique type of fields present or unique equipment present. So I think that's why it's popular in every corner of the planet.
And it's played, at the academic institutions at every level, and you have kids engaged in those opportunities. And then, of course, you have some, low level, mid level, upper level kinds of experiences. So you have a lot of diversity in that as well. And as you said, it's one of the most accessible sports. It doesn't take a whole lot to put a ball on the ground and start kicking it around. And, of course, it takes a little finesse. I don't want to diminish from the skill. That's a part of the game as well. It also is a game that requires a lot of stamina. I mean, I'm just amazed at watching, whether they're young kids or older guys and ladies run up and down a field just nonstop. I mean, that takes a tremendous amount of stamina. So it's got to be a great health booster as well for people that are engaged in that particular space. And then we look at the World Cup that we just experienced a couple of months or so ago, and the incredible attention that's paid to that event and the rabid way. I'm saying rabid because I see the fans. The rabid way that fans celebrate the game on the field, off the field, in the city, in the community. I mean, soccer's a pretty big deal around the world, and the perspective, I think, of football, soccer, in other parts of the world certainly transcend what we may feel Americanized football does in our nation today, just ahead of the Super Bowl that's happening later this afternoon. But it's amazing, I think, to watch all of that energy and excitement, and then you put together the Huntsville High JV Soccer Super Cup that's being done in partnership with the Huntsville Sports Commission. And I know Mark's not here. Mark, of course, is in charge of the Sports Commission chat, but I thought you might just make a comment about how the Sports Commission works within our community to bring these kinds of events and make them something that is appealing to the community, not just in our own community, but those that may want to come here to participate in certain kinds of events like this.
That's right. And a big thanks to Jason and Avadian, as well as Mark Russell and Huntsville Sports Commission. Both of those organizations had the vision to see what youth soccer, and sometimes we always think about the big varsity finals. These are the JV students. These are some of the younger players, some of the players who are not as far along in that career, but they still love the game just as much, right? And so the Sports Commission does a great job bringing people from outside of our community into our community to experience the amazing athletic assets that the city of Huntsville, the city council, the mayor at Parks and Recreation have created. And in this case, we have some amazing artificial synthetic turf fields right there at Merrimack. I bring in people from all over the Southeast, from big MLS clubs, and they've stopped there and they're like, you could put these fields in any city in America and they'd be impressive. And that really is the vision of our city, but it doesn't really do as good a job if only your city people get to experience that. So we'll have teams from across North Alabama reaching down into Jefferson County. And it's really great because it's a men's and women's tournament. And so there's both of those divisions. We're going to have all different ages, all different genders, and all different types of families joining us.
Yeah, Jason, you were a college athlete and you had some great success in what you did. Clearly, you didn't start at the college level, I don't believe. You probably involved earlier in life. As it was then, it is now. Athletics is huge in the lives of our young people, and it's important for them to be engaged in athletics in various ways. Now, everybody's not going to make the team, but being involved in sports, in organized sports, has some great values and some great perks. Would you talk for just a few moments as we're talking about this being a JV event, which means that they are younger kids? Talk about what the value of experiencing something like this event might be for them in the context of organized sports.
When you're an athlete, regardless of the level, it's, part of the dream to be able to perform in front of someone else. There's a lot of time that's spent in practice, watching videos and all of the ways that you prepare to be the best that you can be at every level. And JV is no different than any other level of sports that's out there. These kids are excited. They're competitive. They want the opportunity to showcase their talents, their skills, and the things that they've learned, not just to their families, but also the community. There's so much that can be learned there, and especially at a time where there's so many electronic devices and, other items that are venues and platforms that people use for entertainment. To just see the kids go out there, just run around and just be as competitive as they can, but still loving and enjoying the sport. That's special. This is something that a lot of these kids won't forget for the rest of their life.
Yeah, I can only imagine. And of course, this is just an opportunity, like you said, for them to go out, give their best performance, work together with their teammates. With the goal of victory, of course, everybody goes out on the field with the idea that there's going to be a victory, and everybody plays that way. And, of course, the coaches are coaching well and trying to encourage and inspire their young people to do the best they can. I mentioned in your introduction that you were a two-time Howard University Hall of Famer. What were those two experiences specifically?
So at Howard, I had the privilege of being able to qualify for the NCAA Division I National Championship twice. So, but the biggest honor was that I was able to qualify as a freshman back in 1995. So for that accolade alone, that was part of the reason why I was inducted to the Hall of Fame. And then I was inducted again because in the exact same year, the level that was brought from the class that was already there to the incoming class that came in resulted in us winning our conference, which is called the MEAC, the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference. So we were able to get inducted as a team as well. So that was a special moment, especially in a sport that isn't as glamorized as some of the other sports. So that's what the two inductions were representing.
Now that's big deal. I mean, I respect that and admire that, and of course, you being just a down to earth guy that you are makes that even more special. So, definitely congratulations on that. Chad, do you have some information that you can provide for us about the event?
Yeah, it's actually hosted by Huntsville High Soccer, the Panthers, go Panther. So you can go to our website, and it's one of our major events again for JV. So JV and freshmen, really a lot of 9th, 10th, 11th, some 12th graders, but they're all going to be there. You can go to Facebook, Huntsville High Panther Soccer, and you can find the details there. It's going to be at the end of this month, and it's going to be 3 days long. Because of our partners at Avadian and Huntsville's Sports Commission, we're able to keep the ticket prices low, free parking there at Merrimack because of our partners. So thank you, Jason, and thank you, Mark. And again, we're trying to make this as accessible as possible. We're going to be welcoming teams all the way from far eastern, up near Fort Payne, all the way over to the Shoals and parts in between. So it's going to be a great soccer weekend in the Rocket City.
Yeah, and I know there's a lot of excitement and a lot of buzz around these kinds of events. And the folks, of course, the athletes that are preparing for this are absolutely excited. It's a big thing for the tourism boom in our town because you're going to bring families, friends, and supporters along with the process, and they get a chance to taste a little bit of the largest city in the state of Alabama and the best city to live in, according to U.S. News and World Report, as confirmed on last year. And Chad, you were still a part of that conversation at that time. That was a pretty big and significant deal. And I wonder if you would just for a few moments contextualize that in the context of how our city moves forward with these kinds of opportunities to have partnerships with companies like Avadian and also large sporting events and other kinds of Major League Soccer or professional soccer. Contextualize that for the listening audience so they can really kind of get a little taste of where we're headed as a community.
Yeah, one of the things that I really appreciate about Mayor Battle and John Hamilton, City Council, all the leadership like you, is that the city really decides here, if we're not going to do just a bunch of mediocre things, we maybe do fewer things, but they're all going to be great. So when we build an aquatic center or the Legacy Center or the cross-country fields or Joe Davis renovation or an amphitheater, when we do it in our community, we realize it's worth that extra investment to make it great because it's going to draw people from all around and also make us locals proud that these are our home fields or our home turfs or home. And so I think when people from the outside look in, they're like, wow, this city reinvests in its people and their quality of life. And that is one of the key barometers for a great city is, do they invest not just in pothole cleaning and sidewalk, all that stuff is important, but do they invest in the quality of life of their people? And in Huntsville, that's easily said in a big yes, and that's why we top these charts all the time.
Yeah, and Jason, of course, going back again to the fact that Avadian is a major player in our community in terms of the financial industry. But just in the context of supporting something like this, something I've talked to you offline with often has been the idea that there is a relational element to being able to have success in a community. In other words, for Avadian to come here and then to grow and then thrive, it really takes getting to know people and going beyond just the whole concept of doing business to be doing business. And I just think that these kinds of partnerships are so smart, because that's exactly what it conveys. It conveys an interest by your company in more than just doing business. It conveys an interest in the people, much like Chad was just talking about, investing in people and the quality of life. Would you agree with that?
Oh, most wholeheartedly. It's part of our why. Our why is not about financials. Our why simply says that we give people unique experiences that brings them delight. So when you take that in effect with, we're blessed to be in an area that has become now the #1 city in the nation. We have a lot of people that we're able to speak with. We have a lot of people that we're able to collab with, such as Chad and Mark and the different entities that they cover. We're just in a great period and a great time here, and our company is excited to do things of this nature, and we look to do more. We look to do a lot more for years to come.
So, Chad, Major League Soccer, professional soccer, coming to Huntsville. How soon can I get excited about getting my ticket?
Yesterday. We have season tickets, and we have great merchandise. We have season tickets on sale right now. If you go to HuntsvilleCityFC.com, and again, along the lines of accessibility, we do have some premium seats. We do have some great seats with high-end amenities. We also have $8 general admission tickets. We have $10 general admission tickets. We want this to be something that if you want to do a high-end corporate entertainment or whatever reason you want to have that premium experience, but there's not a bad seat in the house. And so every person that comes to the renovated Joe Davis will have a great seat. And again, if you go to HuntsvilleCityFC.com, you'll be able to go online, buy your season tickets. We're about to release single game tickets, been waiting on the schedule. But even those tickets, single games, will again be in the $10 range. March 4th is our first preseason match at the state championship fields. And this is important. Every single ticket, $8. Okay.
Wow.
So March 4th, you can join us. There's 1,200 seats at state championship fields right there in John Hunt. We've made every single seat, no matter if you're right on the sideline or up in the stands, $8, because we want everyone to feel like they can enjoy this experience. Go to HuntsvilleCityFC.com.
And Chad, real quick, I know we're running out of time here, but as you were talking, just hit me also that the repurposing of Joe Davis Stadium did not come without some strategic thought and, just lots of conversations, everything from tear it down and start all over again to how can we perhaps repurpose it, and landing on the repurposing looks like it's turned out to be a pretty good deal.
Yeah, the stadium had good bones and a lot of great memories, right? It was really stoutly built, and a lot of people remember playing there. But it's not just a soccer pitch. We're also hosting lacrosse, field hockey, high school football. Huntsville City Schools are going to be playing there on select Friday nights in the fall. There'll be college football. There'll be ultimate frisbee. There'll be concerts, boxing, wrestling, right? Pro wrestling, Jason. I don't know if you have a pro wrestling cape or anything off the top rope. But we're able to host anything you can host on a synthetic turf, artificial field that's rectangular. So we hope this is a gathering place for people who love all different types of outdoor activities.
Yeah, it sounds like just an amazing experience. Just another one of the many things that are happening right here in Huntsville that continues to excite me about living here in this community. And, my wife and I were like, we're not going nowhere. I mean, where else is there to go other than Huntsville? This is just a great place to be and a great place to live and be among family and friends. And we're so happy that we've chosen to make this our home. Jason Guyton, thank you once again for being part of the conversation today. Tell people real quickly, if you want people to catch up with you, how they can reach you by email or phone.
Yes, you contact me by email, jguyton, that's Guyton @evadiancu.com. Our branch phone number is 256-536-5626. Website, www.evadiancu.com. Social media is everything Evadian Credit Union. You can't miss it.
All right, Chad, you want to drop some information for Huntsville City FC?
Yeah, HuntsvilleCityFC.com. On there is my email address. We want to provide great customer service to every guest. So if you have any questions or issues, email me and I'll get it to our team and we'll get it figured out. And you can also find Huntsville City FC on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Huntsville City.
They're everywhere, folks. You can't miss them. If you're looking for them,
wide game.
You're looking for them, you're going to find them. It's the 2023 Huntsville High JV Soccer Super Cup, and it's coming. Ready or not, here it comes, and so much more coming behind that. Jason Guyton, Evadian Credit Union, one of the sponsors. Chad Emerson, Managing Director of Business Operations for the Huntsville City Football Club. And, of course, we're acknowledging Mark Russell with the Huntsville Sports Commission who is a big part of the success of this thing as well. Guys, thank you so much for a very informative conversation today. Chad, we'll have to have you come back on, maybe bring the captain of the team at some point and have a good conversation.
Let's go Panther soccer.
Hey, let's go. All right, guys, have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Folks, what another great conversation. I tell you, we're just rolling here today with great conversations, and I certainly appreciate the energy that's being shared by my guests today and all of the insightful conversations that they are engaged in with me on today. I certainly appreciate that. We're going to come back this afternoon because we're not done yet. We've got a couple of more segments, a couple of more great interviews, and we're going to share that information with you in just a moment. Have a very special guest to introduce you to next. I'm Kenny Anderson at Second Chance. I hope that you're having an amazing Sunday afternoon.
Why do we say praise 90.1 FM?
There's a praise on the inside
For guidance.
that I can't keep to myself.
For inspiration.
Hold on, hey, just be strong.
For upliftment. Giving you continuous praise on Praise 90.1 FM.
Marvelous grace of our loving Lord, grace that exceeds our sin and our guilt. Yonder on Calvary's mount outpoured, there where the blood of the Lamb was spilled. Grace, grace, it's God's grace, grace that will pardon and cleanse within. It's grace, grace, it's God's grace, grace that is greater than all our sin. Dark is a stain that I cannot hide. What can avail to wash it away? Look, there is flowing a crimson tide, brighter than snow you may be today. Grace, grace, it's God's grace, grace that will pardon and cleanse within. Grace, grace, it's God's grace, grace that is greater than all our sin. Marvelous, infinite, matchless grace, freely bestowed on all who believe. You that are longing just to see His face, will you this moment His grace receive. It's grace, grace. It's God's grace, grace that will pardon and cleanse within. Grace, grace. It's God's grace, grace that is greater than all our
Transforming lives.
Transforming lives.
You're listening to Second Chance with Kenneth Anderson.
Welcome back to the broadcast. I want to thank my guests, Chad Emerson and Jason Guyton, for sharing some great information about that big soccer tournament that's coming up, Huntsville High JV Soccer Super Cup, coming up at the end of this month. And you're going to definitely be hearing a lot about that because it's going to be a lot of people in our community as far as that's concerned. Also, you heard the song Marvelous Grace by the late T. Marshall Kelly. We're reflecting on the life of that giant of a man of God whose life transitioned this past week. And, of course, our hearts are heavy because of the loss, but we're not a people without hope. And so we send our condolences to the Kelly family, Eric and Nadine, my boy Dane Timpson, and every member of that family, friends and loved ones who felt so touched by the life of Elder T. Marshall Kelly. Well, I said I'm going to keep the ball rolling this afternoon. I'm going to do exactly that with my next guest, who I'm going to bring on right now. I don't think he's been on my broadcast before, but, once he's here, you'll never forget it, and it won't be his last time on my broadcast. So I welcome him at this time. Let me do a formal introduction for those that may not know who he is. Ronald Brizet leverages a wealth of experience in governmental, legislative, political, and business arenas to represent the interests of clients. His expertise includes the areas of appropriations, business development, education, governmental and legislative affairs, public policy, and economic development. He currently chairs Gunster's Government Affairs and Lobbying Practice. He is an accomplished leader with more than 20 years of experience in telecom, energy, and utilities. As a thought leader in telecom, he has testified before the U.S. Senate on telecom issues, served on the Joint Board on Universal Service, and on the Universal Service Administrative Company. Ronald served in the Florida House of Representatives from 2006 to 2010. He served as Democratic Whip and Vice Chair of the Florence Conference of Black State Legislators. And in 2010, he was tapped to serve on the Florida Public Service Commission, serving multiple terms, including a term as chairperson. Ronald is passionate about bringing people together and has interest, in accomplishing a common goal. And of all of those things that I just said, of course, I buried the headline. He is a proud graduate of the great Oakwood University. What's happening, Ronald?
How you doing, Kenny? It's my pleasure to be here with you this afternoon with you. Yes, I'm a proud Oakwood alumnus. We say that loud and proud.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do, man. We don't hide that anywhere we go. We shout that from the mountaintops. And let me start there because I was going to start somewhere. So I want to start with this Oakwood pride that I know that you share, I share. We both have a common path in life as you ended up in the Florida house. I'm now in the mayor's office, been there for about 10 years now. You spent substantive time in that particular landscape. Talk about what that means to you as an Oakwood graduate, lending your services, your skills, your insights to these places, knowing that we entered to learn in this great institution and truly understood it was important to serve.
Yeah, I'm glad that we're starting the conversation there. You know, one of the great things about Oakwood is one, its size and its the opportunities it provides students to engage in leadership of different size groups, right? And the city of Huntsville itself is a wonderful place because you have an opportunity to engage in a meaningful way while you are a student there. And all of the skills that I learned at Oakwood were very helpful to me as I left Oakwood and then started a career as a academy biology teacher, and then eventually decided to pursue additional education and run for public office. And the interesting thing about how I got into public office, we were on a Saturday afternoon in my house. We were just hanging out after church, and there were some issues in our community, and we started to talk about them. And ultimately, out of that conversation came about, hey, let's stop complaining about it and let's sort of be about the solution. And we started looking at maps. We started looking at demographics. We started looking at election cycles. We started looking at how much money it would take to run and win. And one thing led to another. And I ended up running for the Florida House of Representatives. And I ended up winning in 2006. So, you know, I think the Oakwood environment provides an opportunity for people to think outside the box in those ways. And then no matter where you are around the country, there is a community that is an Oakwood community that will be out there to support you. So, you know, loud and proud, Oakwoodite.
Yeah. Listen, I feel the same way. I just feel so honored to know that whenever I'm out and about that, you know, I try to let people know as much as I can, but if they don't know, they could probably sense some
Right.
Oakwood pride just, you know, oozing through me because I'm just so proud of the experience I had at this institution. And I don't take my time at Oakwood lightly. I think that those of us who have had a chance to come through this institution were placed there for such a time as whenever it was, and for specific purposes that have allowed us now to use our gifts in some other areas. And so I'm very honored to take Oakwood wherever I go around this city, state, the nation, and the world. And I know you do as well. I want to ask you a few things today about a few things that are happening and going on. Of course, this is Black History Month. Each Black History Month has a theme. The theme of this month is Black resistance. And of course, we see so many examples of that historically, whether they're figures or movements or incidents and situations that have occurred over time. But what an incredibly relevant topic to have today as we see challenges to voting rights, as we see the continuous call for police reform and some of the challenges in light of the Tyree Nichols murder a couple of weeks ago. Talk to me a little bit about your thoughts about that theme and where we are as a people today on the continuum of Black resistance.
Sure, and that's such an important topic at this very moment. You know, when we look back at the forefathers of the movement, right? Whether you're thinking 50 years ago or whether you're thinking 100 years ago, and all of the rights that have been won through blood, sweat, and tears, we are in a position that is slightly different today than it was at any other time in history. When you consider the number of people that are in positions of power, right, that can exercise that power, whether it is administrative power or elective power, or corporate power, right? We are in a completely different position. And I think that harnessing a collective approach, I think, is extremely important to us as a community. And regardless of where one falls on a political or philosophical spectrum, whether you're, a liberal or a conservative, there are things that are important to us and it shouldn't matter. Voting is one of them. Like ensuring that everyone has the ability to vote, and that it shouldn't be a chore to vote. And whatever roadblocks that some are thinking in creating to do so, we shouldn't be partnering with anyone to help those things happen. And I think that that is extremely important. Economic empowerment is another piece, ensuring that as we are going through a transformation of the workforce and the types of opportunities that currently exist that may not exist in 10 years and beyond, thinking about that, thinking about the educational system and ensuring that the appropriate skills are being taught to our young people so that they can compete in the economy that will exist and is starting to emerge as we stand right now. We think about the saddling of college debt on folk. We think about housing, which is a crisis across the country right now. You think about the prices of rent, the prices of pricing on purchasing homes. It's almost impossible. I think about in my area, I live in the Orlando area, the average price of a home in the Orlando market is $400,000. You think about a family that is working, you have two people who are working, and you just do the simple 30% down payment, right? Or 3 times your salary in order to meet the ability to purchase that property, and then a 20% down payment, where the average person is making $50,000 a year. You have a 2-earner household, they're making $100,000. It becomes very difficult for a teacher, a firefighter, a police officer to live in the communities that they serve. So, what does resistance mean? I think it's a different form today, right? And it's about resisting sort of the encroachment on opportunity outside of the things that we see, which are blatant, that need to happen, like police reform, that is long overdue, voter reform, which is long overdue, and all of these things are extremely important, and addressing them from the perspective of us systematically addressing those issues. And when we vote for someone, making sure that we hold them accountable for the things that are important to us.
Absolutely. Speaking of voting for someone, Governor Ron DeSantis, the governor of your state, and I'm proud to say that, the governor of your state, even though I know I live in Alabama, we have our own challenges, but I'm gonna let you own that governor for today.
I hear you. He's my governor.
He's your governor. That's right. The good, the bad, and the ugly.
Right.
But Governor DeSantis is clearly measuring a run for the White House. Everything that he's doing is signaling that that's what he's positioning himself for. Regardless of what people may think about the extremes of what he's doing, he is speaking to a base, and a base that is going to ultimately be responsive to what he does. So one of the areas that he's attacking, of course, is this AP course in schools, and stripping it of its historical accuracy or inclusion in many instances. This Stop Woke act that he enacted and got signed to kind of push back against this whole notion of, nobody should teach anybody anything that's going to make them feel ashamed or humiliated or embarrassed for what they've done in the past, and they, in 2023 have nothing to do with. Talk generally about what your feelings are about this, because, Governor DeSantis was not the first person who did this. The governor of Texas led the way with this type of repressive response to history and education. And I personally feel that these are opening volleys that have the potential to move their way across different states in our nation that will present greater challenges to the historical accuracy of what Black people and people of color and Native Americans have dealt with in this country. Can you talk generally about what your thoughts are about these kinds of efforts to remove, and I say distort, history?
Yeah, so these are some interesting policies. I'll place it that way, right? These are interesting policies that I think are designed specifically to engage a certain component of the electorate, right? And also to draw out other components of the electorate and officials, right? While there are many other things that are happening that have much more critical importance. And what I mean by that, much more critical importance from an economic perspective or other policy perspectives, that will then drive the conversation on some of these things. So I'll give you a perfect example. As you mentioned, the AP course that is talked about. 60 schools across the country are piloting the course, right? And whether one agrees or disagrees with what is being taught in the course, it's a pilot course. And in it, you have several areas that the state of Florida, based upon the structure of laws that have been passed in recent years, were challenged by the administration and the Department of Education. And some of these areas include intersectionality and activism, Black queer studies, right? Questions about movement for Black lives or the Black Lives Movement, right? Black feminist literary thought, the notion of reparations and the reparations movement, and what is the definition of Black study and the Black struggle in the 21st century? So all of these things are things that the state of Florida felt, based upon recent laws, that these things are out of bounds for study. Now, the AP or the College Board went back and said, look, the things that you have brought forward, yeah, maybe they don't need to be included in this course, right? Now, there's a lot of dynamics around why I think the College Board probably reacted that way. Clearly, many schools have decided to do away with the SAT, and so therefore there's a financial impact there, and also they're fighting for relevance overall, right? So who's their customer, and so they are engaging with their customer. So on this particular thing, I think that from a policy perspective, I think people sort of reacted viscerally to, right? As some would say is the proper thing to do, right? But at the same time, and this is the juxtaposition that I'm talking about. At the same time, there's a conversation in Florida about creating a universal voucher for public schools, right? Regardless of what your position is on that, that is a bigger policy issue, right? And in addition to that, you have the way teacher unions are able to operate, right, is another issue that is combined with the universal voucher. So when you think about those two sets of issues, you step back and say, which one will have a greater impact on my community, right? How many of our students will take this pilot course that is offered, that will be offered in 60 schools across the country, right? It is a college course, right, that you hope to take, and then you hope to pass the exam and get college credit for it at a college that accepts this particular course. You may go to a college that doesn't accept this particular course. So I think that a lot of times we have to, as a community, think about how much energy we put behind certain issues and make sure that we are targeting the appropriate issues as we consider the value proposition for our community as a whole. And so when I look at all these type of issues, that's sort of the first question that I ask myself. Who does it affect? How many people does it affect? What is the broad policy objective? And am I exercising the appropriate amount of energy based upon those factors?
Ron, I'll only have about 3 minutes left,
Sure.
but I can't let you get away without asking this question. So on this show, we often talk about politics and elections and more. And of course, when I have my roundtable discussion, which I'm going to probably invite you to be a part of at different times when I have that opportunity to do that, if you'll accept my invitation.
Sure.
But we talk about the current administration, and we talk about the feasibility of the current president running for re-election. Just give me a 2-minute summary statement, Cliff Notes version of your thoughts about Biden running for re-election.
You know, I think he runs. And I think that if the former president is the one that ends up making it out of the primary, Biden has a really good shot of winning. I think that if DeSantis ends up winning the primary, I think Biden will have an uphill battle. Now, the question is, does DeSantis make it out of the primary? You know, he hasn't faced that kind of scrutiny nationwide. And then there's also the possibility that President Trump will run as a third party candidate if he doesn't win the primary. So yes, I think Biden runs, and it's going to be a very exciting election season coming up.
Yeah, me and my boys up here are saying that that we would be very grateful to have a press conference where the current president announces that he has no intention of running.
I hear you.
And of course, you know, we have our different reasons for saying that. We have a lot of fun talking about it, though. So it's going to be a lot of fun seeing where we go in this process. And definitely want to have your input along the way. So I'm going to reach out to you and ask you about joining us from time to time.
Absolutely look forward, and thank you for having me today.
Well, listen, if you have a website, a blog, or email, or something else that you got going on that you want people to know about, then let us know what that might be.
All right, I'm put my email address here in the chat.
Okay, fantastic. Definitely like people to reach out to our guests and stay connected, especially when they happen to be a wealth of knowledge and information. And thank you, Ron. I appreciate that. We really appreciate the opportunity to talk to a variety of people. And one of the things about my guests, and I never question them about this, but I always have the sense that they appreciate being a part of these conversations and they certainly would be open to continuing the dialogue with you if you choose to do that with them. So, Ronald, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you. Take care.
All right. Have a great day. Folks, it just gets better and better, I tell you. And I don't know how I landed in the position to be the beneficiary of such an incredible space every Sunday from 2 to 4 p.m. Central Standard Time on this broadcast called Second Chance. Ronald Brizet joined me just now. And Ronald, of course, graduate of the great Oakwood University. I buried that headline early. I won't do that ever again. But Ronald, of course, is currently working as the chair of Gunster's Government Affairs and Lobbying Practice. He's an accomplished leader, former member of the House of Representatives in the great state of Florida, where he served from 2006 to 2010. He was the Democratic whip and vice chair of the Florida Conference of Black State Legislators. He was tapped to serve on the Florida Public Service Commission, where he served several terms, including one as chairperson of that commission. So very well and very steeped in the understanding of legislative practices, and I just appreciated talking with him on this afternoon. We're going to come back in just a moment and talk to you about a big health equities conference that's coming up to Huntsville, and you do not want to miss the information that we have to share about that. I'm going to do that in just a moment. It's Second Chance. I hope that you're having an amazing day.
There's the wonder of sunset at evening, the wonder of sunrise I see, but the wonder of wonders that thrills my soul is the wonder that God loves me. Oh, the wonder of it all, the wonder of it all, just to think how much God really loves me. Oh, the wonder of it all, the wonder of it all, just to think how much God really loves you. There's the wonder of springtime and harvest, the sky, the stars, the sun. But the wonder of wonders that thrills my soul is the wonder that's only begun. Oh, the wonder of it all, the wonder of it all, just to think how much God really loves me. Oh, the wonder of it all, the wonder of it all, just to think how much God really loves you. Just to think how much God really loves you.
Hey, Jack, you got a sec?
Yeah, sure. Come on in.
Yeah, I was wondering if you... Jack, your hair's on fire.
Yeah, I know. I just need to finish this sales report, and then I'll probably, I don't know, let me lie down for a bit. But I'm sure it'll go away.
But the flames are getting bigger. Shouldn't I... Your hair, there's so much fire.
No, I'll be fine. What can I help you with? Oh, dear. Well, at least we know the sprinkler system works.
You wouldn't ignore this, so why ignore the signs of a stroke? If you or someone you know suddenly experiences numbness of the face, arm, or leg, or sudden trouble speaking, seeing, or walking, don't wait to get help. Call 911 right away, because time lost is brain lost. To find out more, visit www.strokeassociation.org or call 1-888-4-STROKE. This message brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
Transforming
lives.
You're listening to Second Chance with Kenneth Anderson.
Welcome back to the broadcast. Once again, I want to say thank you to Ronald Brise, who was my guest just a few moments ago, sharing information, insight, and perspectives on a variety of things from his role as a past legislator in the state of Florida, as well as somebody who is still well entrenched in governmental affairs. And we certainly appreciate him for joining us this afternoon for that conversation. My next guests are going to share information about a very important health equities conference that's about to hit the city of Huntsville in just a few weeks. And I thought that we'd give you a little taste of what's coming on this afternoon's broadcast. Danette Baptiste is here with us today. Danette, what is going on with you?
How are you? I am so excited to be here, and I was touched listening to Elder Kelly, Pastor Kelly's song prior to us, and I just want to definitely, send my love, thoughts, and prayers out to his family. And his family is extensive. I consider myself a member of the family. Just being able to be a beneficiary of his gift, his gift of love and ministry through song. And so, he actually went to Oakwood with my dad. And so whenever I saw him, my dad passed away, it just reminded me of that legacy that existed there. But, Pastor Kelly was always so kind and so gracious. And, he was one of those people who didn't have to tell you he loved God. It was in everything that he did. And so, I'm touched, and, just his passing has affected me in a very personal way.
Yeah, I tell you, we're all shaken at the same time that we are grateful, that we are hopeful, and that we are certainly continuously sending out our love and condolences and best wishes to the family in this moment of transition. So thank you for sharing that. And I was so happy to see Danette. I didn't even tell anybody who you are. So let me back up just for a moment and let people know who I'm talking to. When friends come together, it just kind of rolls that way.
Absolutely.
So Danette currently serves as the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Manager for SoftChoice, a multi-billion-dollar information technology company headquartered in Toronto, Canada, that services North America. And currently, she is working on organizing and implementing the Health Equity and Lifestyle Project Conference that's coming to the city of Huntsville on April 2nd and 4th. And we're so excited about that. We can't wait to hear what you have to say. And let me go ahead and bring in our other guests before we get so caught up in the conversation that I'll leave Scott behind the scenes. Dr. Scott Stahl, how are you this afternoon?
I am doing great. Thank you. Really honored to be here, and just thank you for this great opportunity to join you in this important conversation.
Well, listen, let me make sure I let people know who I'm talking to also, because I don't want to be disrespectful with my guests. Dr. Saleh is sports certified physician specializing in sports and regenerative musculoskeletal medicine and is recognized as an international leader in lifestyle medicine and whole food plant-based nutrition. Now, I'm going to tell you, Doc, a lot of people got excited about that because I know our population, and the people go, oh my goodness, they're talking about plant-based stuff. So they're really tuning in right now. He's the co-founder of the Plantrition Project, the International Plant-Based Nutrition Healthcare Conference, the International Journal of Disease Reversal and Prevention, and the Regenerative Health Institute, a unique collaborative project with the Rodale Institute that integrates a regenerative vision of human health, agriculture, and the environment. And he's so much more. We'll post that stuff on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. But welcome to the broadcast.
Thank you, Kenny. Delighted to be here. Thank you.
Well, listen, we're just weeks away from this amazing experience happening in the biggest city in the state of Alabama, in the best city to live, judged by U.S. News and World Report this past year. And so absolutely, we're excited about knowing about what's going on. Danette, do you want to take the lead here and just tell us a little something about why I'm so excited about the conference coming up?
Yes, absolutely. So April 2nd through the 4th, this is our inaugural conference event as a part of a joint venture between Healthy Heart Nation and the Plantrition Project, which is what the project that Scott and his partners put on throughout the U.S. and throughout the world. They have teamed with us to bring a similar conference that will focus on the disparities in the Black community, and not just the issues, but how we can solve the solutions and provide solutions for people who are looking to have better health. And so this conference will be taking place during that time period, and it really wants to bring together the thought leaders from a variety of different areas. So a lot of times you have conferences and it's all health people, or it's all business people, or it's all education people, or it's all community people. And so what this conference is made to do is to bring everyone together to sit down and collaborate on solutions that are going to affect the community across us all, because we've learned that not just one group can solve it. And so, this is something that was put on our hearts at Healthy Heart Nation, along with my husband, Columbus Batiste, and Scott was similarly having the same desire put on his heart by the Lord. And so I'll let Scott kind of talk to you about how he, how we came together as a collaboration.
Yeah, and before I get to that, I want to let me direct this, Danette. I'm the host here. You step back for a second. I'll bring Scott in. I know when to bring him in. No, I wanted to ask you this, Scott, because here's something that I have become so much more respectful of as I have learned and aged. We really are what we eat. There's no question about that. And the fact that if we know better and we aren't doing better, then it really falls back on us. So this is such a timely conversation as we look around at many things that are happening right now. We look at a lot of people who are turning to plant-based products and trying to learn more about how they align with our health. So talk to me a little bit about this as being more than just a fad. This is really about a lifestyle. This is something that we want people to embrace and internalize in pragmatic ways.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you, Kenny. And I couldn't help but recall Maya Angelou, who said that. She said, "I did then what I knew how to do, but now that I know better, I do better." And one of the problems we have, not only in America today, but all over the world, and especially in healthcare education, is that people just don't know better. So they don't know how to do better. And that's part of the reason for the conference. We really want to help people to understand the science of lifestyle and plant-based nutrition, and to be excited about the science, because it really does tell us that when we choose to eat the right things, it not only makes us feel better, but it actually reverses disease, the very diseases that are undermining the health of populations of people around the world, in Black communities across the United States in disproportionate ways. And not only leading to premature death, but like it is actually eroding their quality of life to such an extent that, the majority of people are living the last quarter of their lives in poor health, 25% of their lives in poor health. And so I'm just so excited about this because over the last 20 years, I have seen lives radically transformed when people simply change what's on their plate. Diseases like heart disease reversed. People literally canceling bypass surgeries. People spending thousands of dollars a month on medications for type 2 diabetes with all of the associated complications, reversing their type 2 diabetes and not requiring any further medications. Patients with multiple sclerosis reversing their multiple sclerosis. It goes into remission. They have no more symptoms. And these people, then having the opportunity to return to a beautiful, productive life that is, with whole relationships and fulfilling the call that God's put on their lives that hasn't been hindered by these diseases.
Scott, I wanted to ask you a question because we often hear about how traditional medicine does not expose developing or emerging physicians with this kind of information. And I'm wondering, did you come into the medical profession with this desire and knowledge to be this person, or did you become this person?
No, God evolved me into this person. I was trained just like all my other colleagues with about 19 hours of nutrition in medical school, just like Dr. Columbus. And none of it is really the nutritional information that you need to understand the power of nutrition or make a lifestyle change. And so, it was out of my experience in my practice and seeing that my patients were telling me their lives were falling apart and realizing that what was really happening is not only a physical falling apart, but an undermining of all that is valuable in life. Relational falling apart, financial falling apart, spiritual activities hindered because of poor health, not able to go on mission fields, pastors not able to serve, church activities, around, focused more around health than actually the kingdom. And so it ends up undermining every aspect of someone's life. Yep. And so realizing that, I did a personal learning journey and discovered that the power of our plate is far more powerful than I ever learned in medical school or anybody ever told me. And so I started using my prescription pad, Kenny, to write breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I saw incredible transformations by handing that prescription out instead of prescription medications.
Wow, that's powerful in itself. And I hope that people are listening are getting really, really excited because we're going to tell you how you could be a part of this extraordinary experience. I do believe it's a first-time experience for the city. I'm not suggesting that we've never had these kinds of things before, but I believe at the level that you guys are bringing this, with the expertise that you're bringing to the table, the broad, comprehensive nature of this thing, it's going to be absolutely amazing. And Danette, I wanted to ask you this question because I know you have a desire to reach as many people as possible. When you kind of think about who do you want at the table for this conference, I bet your mind goes in a lot of different directions. We want this group, we want this group, we want this group. Talk to us a little bit about who you are targeting as a result of this conference.
Yes, and the conference is specifically catering to the medical profession. So doctors, nurses, allied health professionals, dietitians is the primary goal and the people that we're trying to reach. However, we understand the importance of getting the community involved and sharing this information with them as well. And so as the city of Huntsville is growing and just a leader across a lot of different fields, we understood the relevance of bringing the HBCU aspect into the conference, and the Oakwood University and A&M, and as well as Drake and some of those, their thought process to really be able to come in and share out what they have been doing that is working, right? So a lot of times we think about all of the problems, but we don't look at the solutions. And so when we were looking for a site for the conference, Huntsville immediately, popped into our minds, not just because I'm a graduate of Oakwood University, but also just the fact that Oakwood represents the type of community that we want to be able to spotlight and to highlight and to share out the things that they're doing right with the community gardens, with the community active centers, training the future medical professionals to go out and to be able to service our community in a more personal and connective way, as well as just really looking at the population of Oakwood graduates and the people around who've lived, living healthily, and happily in their 90s and beyond. So, it's time to really be able to spotlight that and show that our communities can and are doing the things that are necessary to improve our health and to live a healthy lifestyle.
Yeah, Dr. Stahl, I wonder, I bet you would agree with this. There are a lot of people who would like to have a swimming pool in their backyard. But I'm certain you would advocate for people considering having a garden in their backyard. And if that were the case, what kinds of general things might you say to a Kenny and Sonia Anderson who are thinking about developing a garden in our backyard? What would you say?
Yeah, I would say that one of the greatest opportunities for anyone to transform their health is simply to start growing some of your own food. And it transforms your health in so many ways, more than just the actual growing of food and eating food that you've produced, especially the plants that are so powerful in helping our bodies to reverse disease. But the soil that we are farming in our backyards actually recolonizes the microbiome in our gut, that microbiome that is essential for 75% of the health of our immune system. They say that gardening is equal in antidepressant effect to some medications, because as we're out there in the soil in God's creation, we are connecting with life in a unique way. And that process of being connected to the sun and the soil and the water and the seasons has an amazing healing effect as well. And one of the other amazing benefits of gardening is you grow food, you usually end up growing more than you can handle, and so you start sharing with your neighbors, which builds one of the most important aspects of health, which is community. We have to do this together. One of the problems today is that it's not only food deserts that are a real issue, especially in these most at-risk communities, but they're on the opposite side, they're food swamps. They have the highest density of fast food restaurants and junk food. So it's the worst of both worlds, poor access and accelerated access to unhealthy food. And I really believe one of the solutions to this is encouraging people to just start growing something for yourself and something for your neighbor. And then it brings us together around this beautiful opportunity to start healing our own bodies and healing our communities.
Can you generally talk about, I'm just going to pick diabetes, for example. We do hear about reversing diabetes and other kinds of diseases like that. Can you just give me a little snippet of what the physiology of that is? And just a little snippet. I know it's probably a bigger conversation, but, can you take me somewhere so I can even get more excited about it and people that are listening can even get more excited about the potential?
You bet. I'll try to do it in 90 seconds if I can. So,
all right.
Food is never neutral. Every time we eat food, it does something in our bodies, either reducing inflammation or encouraging our bodies to heal. Also, the American diet is very high in fat. And so those two things together find their way down into our muscles and to our liver, where we are processing glucose from our meals. And so the fat actually clogs up the keyhole where insulin would insert a key to open up the door and allow insulin in. So we get these gummed up locks, and that keeps the insulin inside of our blood vessels. And the inflammation disrupts the insulin signaling as well. So when somebody eats a McDonald's for lunch, the fat plus the inflammatory component of that cause the body to maintain higher glucose levels in the blood vessels, and the glucose cannot get into the cells. The glucose over time causes more inflammation and more fat deposition, and you get this kind of growing negative feedback every time we're eating. But the good news is that when you start changing your diet in as little as 1 week, your body can pull fat out of the cells and reduce inflammation. And we see people able to decrease their medications by 50%, and sometimes discontinue medications in a week's time by simply changing their diet. So the body rebounds quickly. God designed our bodies to rebound to good health when we do the right thing.
Let me ask you one more thing before Danette gives us information about how people can find out about this extraordinary experience. Is it really as simple as a person looking at their diet and saying, you know what, it's not that easy to say no to these things that are harmful to me. I'm just going to indulge, or I'm going to not overindulge, and I'm going to kind of balance that process. Is it really as easy as just saying, I need to have the willpower to step away from this, that I need to just make some better choices? Or are people just so consumed by the taste of food, the look of food, the habits that they form, that it's almost, I won't say impossible, that it is incredibly difficult for them to break that cycle?
Yes, you know, I would love to say it's just as simple as giving people a prescription and saying, eat this. Now, there are some people that can do that. You know, sometimes people, you know, because of the condition that they're in and, they're facing bypass surgery, they don't have an option. But food is very powerful. And I believe God created food to actually bind us in relationship with nature, relationship with one another, relationship with Him, and thanksgiving and gratitude. And so it's wired down into our brains, the emotional memory, the reward centers, and it's also endemic in our culture and our community. And so, making changes is not always that easy. We have food addiction because it's the foods that are created today are very powerful in the reward centers. We have this relational aspect of food that it's difficult. We have convenience and all kinds of other life issues that in food that make it difficult to make the change. But that's why we have the Help Conference, because as Danette said, we believe that by bringing people together in community, healthcare providers, community leaders, people in policy and politics, we can begin solving this, because the real solution is community. It's creating a community support network and system that encourages healthy choices and healthy behaviors, that actually creates more of a downhill opportunity for people to know and fall into better choices than the uphill of struggling to make choices on their own.
Yeah, boy, this is all so valuable in terms of understanding the potential that we have to live better lives and adopt better lifestyles. And so I'm just so appreciative of the information that you shared today. I'm even more excited about the conference that's coming up. And Danette wants to tell us all about how we can find out information about registering for this conference. You got a website that people can go to? Is there social media presence? Tell us about that.
Sure. So to register for the conference, you can go to the Help Conference, just exactly how it sounds, .org. So thehelpconference.org will give you all of the information on the conference. It'll give you the agenda. It'll give you the pricing. It will give you all of the special guests that we will have featured from the 2nd through the 4th, Kenny being one of them, who will be sharing on the, so, we've got just some fantastic speakers and guests that are going to be bringing this information to the community, as well as those who are in the medical profession. They will be getting continual medical education credits, that will allow them to continue, have something to write off and to enhance what they are doing and are able to bring to their patients on a consistent basis. They will learn more about solutions and how to best service this community, as well as for the community to learn the things that they can do to be in a better position to service themselves.
I'm just so impressed with the enthusiasm and the genuineness with which you all are approaching this process, and have in the past when you've done these conferences. I think Huntsville, I'll speak on behalf of the city of Huntsville. We're so honored to have you coming to the city to be a part of it. We look forward to 3 days of amazing experiences, networking, good plant-based eating, which I put at the top of the list, by the way. And just looking forward to a wonderful, wonderful experience. We're going to keep letting people know about how they can get involved with this. We've already begun posting things on some social media sites, and we'll keep doing that so that people can get engaged. This is going to be a real winner, I know. So I'm excited about it, and I want to thank you both for being a part of this conversation today.
Absolutely. And we thank you so much for your continued support and enthusiasm around what we're trying to do. So thank you.
All right, Dr. Scott.
Great blessing. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Listen, and I think what I really maybe even want to do, I know we did this far enough in advance before we wanted to get people set up in their mind ready, but I may want to do one more just before the conference, just because I'm going to be even more excited, and I'm going to have to find some way to exert my energy and enthusiasm through a conversation with the world. So y'all think about that. I'm going to shoot a couple of dates out, and I hope you're available to be able to join me.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
Well, listen,
be honored.
Fantastic. Well, listen, have a great day.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Folks, if you are not excited about the HELP conference, then shame on you. I don't know what's going to get you excited, but you should be very excited about this conference at this time, because this is going to be an amazing, amazing experience right here in the city of Huntsville, April 2nd through the 4th, 2023. One of the premier events that will come to our community this year. You need to learn more about it. You can go to thehelpconference.org, thehelpconference.org. We'll post that on this page. We'll post that on my social media pages. We'll let people know about how they can get involved, and we hope that you'll do that. I'll be back in just a moment to tell you about our broadcast on next week. It's Second Chance. I'm Kenny Anderson. I hope that you're having as good a day as I am.
Perhaps you have some ideas, comments, or suggestions that you would like to share. Or perhaps you'd like to be a guest on the broadcast. We'd love to hear from you. Please feel free to email Kenny Anderson at mxlife@aol.com, or you can like us on the Second Chance Facebook page. That's 2ND Chance. And now, back to more of Second Chance with Kenny Anderson.
That show was one for the books today, folks. I tell you, that was an amazing show. First of all, we kicked things off with that Dreded Life, a historical interpretation and theatrical presentation on the life of Dred Scott, featuring commentary from Dr. Denise Shavers, as well as Paul Nixon, as well as Dr. Kayla Ward, and we appreciate them for sharing all that great information. Jason Guyton and Chad Emerson join me to talk about the Huntsville High JV Soccer Super Club. Too many S's in there. The Soccer Super Club that's coming up, a cup that's coming up, and that's a big football tournament that's coming to Huntsville in the midst of the addition of the brand new soccer stadium, or multi-purpose stadium, I should say. Ronald Brise joined me this afternoon for one of many times that I hope Ronald will join me, because he's got a lot of political insight, knowledge, and I appreciate all that great information. And then Dr. Scott Stahl and Danette Batiste joining me this afternoon. I'm getting all tongue-tied here on the end of the show because I'm just excited about having had a great show today. And we appreciate them talking about the Health, Equity, and Lifestyle Project Conference coming up April 2nd and 4th right here in the city of Huntsville. Talking about plant-based nutrition and health. You don't want to miss it, folks. On next Sunday, it's What's Going On, my social and political roundtable. Some combination of the fellows will be in the studio with me, and we may have an additional surprise for you. And we hope that you'll join us at that time. In the meantime, I hope that you have a good rest of the week. Remember, as always, knowledge is better than riches. And I hope that you have a great day. Take care.
Thank you for tuning in to Second Chance. We hope that the information that was shared has been a blessing to you and that your life will be enriched as a result of it. We'd love to hear from you. So please send your email comments to Kenneth Anderson at mxlife@aol.com. That's mxlife@aol.com. And check out our Facebook page, 2ND Chance. That's 2ND Chance. In the meantime, have a great week, and we'll talk to you again next week. Good day.